Hey guys, I want to make a video to show you our tiny house that we just bought. I'll kind of go around the outside, show you all the details about that, explain some things, and take you through the inside and kind of show you every little nook and cranny of it. So one of the first things to get started with is this deck. And this is kind of cool. It's actually built into the tiny house. It has some support legs that you can attach to the bottom of it to give it extra support. I don't have them on it right now because it's just me walking on the deck and I need to lift it up to mow the grass pretty often. But it's actually hinged there above the wheel wells, and these side rails actually fold down. So you can fold it down like so, and they lay flat, and then the whole thing folds up into the recess on the side of the tiny house. Folds up flush, and you can take it down the road. The stairs have a couple bolts holding it on at the top, and you just take that off, put it in the back of the truck, and off you go. Got a couple little wires on it. The reason there's two wires, this one's actually just for support, and this one's actually spring-loaded. So, you know, this deck weighs probably a few hundred pounds, so the spring-loaded wire actually helps you be able to put it up with one person. One of the questions we get a lot with this tiny house, one of the first questions is, did you build it yourself or did you buy it? Obviously, it looks really cool and really professional, but no, I didn't build it myself. I wish I could, but you see this boat here in the background. That's actually the project I'm working on building myself. I've spent thousands of hours, so no way I could build a tiny house on top of that. My wife wouldn't let me either. A company up in Canada called Zero Squared actually makes this thing. It's the 28-foot Willow. And what that means is it is on the trailer from the corner here to the back corner, 28 feet long. It's 8.5 feet wide, so the widest that you can legally tow down US highways, and it is 13 feet tall, so just a few inches shy of the legal height limit. So towing this thing is actually, it's quite a beast to tow. It weighs 15,000 pounds almost exactly, and it has the aerodynamics of a parachute. So just for kind of comparison's sake, this boat, which is 12.5 feet tall in the trailer and 10.5 feet wide, I get 9 miles to the gallon towing that with a diesel truck. This tiny house gets about 6. So it's got a lot more wind resistance, a lot more. One of the things I like about this is, one of the first things I actually saw about this when we looked at the pictures online was the very thick, it's a 10-inch thick by 4-inch I-beam frame, so very rigid, and triple 7,000-pound axles. So the trailer that it's built on is actually quite overbuilt for the 15,000 pounds of weight that it's supporting. You've got 2,000 pounds on the tongue, you've got 13,000 pounds on the axles with 21,000 pounds of axle capacity. So you've got a bunch of load carrying capacity in this thing. So no worries about fitting all your stuff in and overloading the wheels and having flats and that sort of thing. Here, the obvious guy sticking out right there in the front is a mini split unit, and this provides the heat and cooling for the tiny house. It's a 12,000 BTU unit, and to be honest, they offer also a 15,000 BTU unit as an option. I'm glad they went with the 12,000 BTU unit because it's actually kind of oversized for the house. This thing is so well insulated. It's even insulated on the floor. If I come up here, I'll show you. You can see the flat bottom insulation, spare tire carrier, all that good stuff. But this unit, So it's on, it's running right now. You can barely hear it. It's running on low, the low power setting, and it's about 90 degrees outside. And that it just cycles on and off of the low power setting. It never gets above low power. Even in the middle of the sun, the middle of the day, 95 degrees, 95% humidity. 12,000 BTUs is plenty. I've even had the oven on inside, and no problems cooling it there. This little box on the front houses our propane tanks. So I've got two propane tanks. Got a little switch up here, a little indicator. So it's showing green here. I've got the right tank selected. I can select the left tank, shown green, so I've got propane. And then it goes down into two lines. One goes to the water heater, and the other one goes to the stove. Now, we don't have a gas-powered heater because, living down here in Houston, it never really gets much below freezing for very long at all. So the mini split heat is more than adequate. And if you needed like a little space heater to plug in, you can do that too. I'd like to say, real heavy duty frame, triple 7,000-pound axles. That's the outlet for the actually the inlet on the perimeter and the outlet in the middle for the water heater right there. A little bit of the stain and varnish on the siding coming off a little bit from the sun, so I need to kind of redo that, but that's one of the very, very few quality issues with this thing. Overall, I'm really happy with it. Kind of going around here to the back side, an interesting thing is, they put some nice power outlets here on the outside, so little GFCI outlets, which is handy. You got your city water connection, and then you actually have a 50 amp RV hookup. A little there for your internet. But the 50 amp hookup is kind of interesting because this thing would do fine with a 30 amp hookup. If you know anything about these, the 50 amp hookup is saying that you actually have, I'm going to show you here, you actually have an extra wire in here. So you have two wires. This one gives you 120 volts and another one gives you 120 volts, both of them at 50 amps. So you actually have 100 amps at 120 volts, which is kind of absurd for this thing because it's so energy efficient. I'll kind of explain more about the appliances later, or the lack of energy consuming appliances. But yeah, it comes with a 50 amp hookup, so you can literally run like a high-powered welder off of that hookup, much less this thing, which will probably consume, I've heard other tiny house owners say they consume about $40-something a month in electricity. So to have, 100 amp service essentially on this thing is just crazy, but it's there if you need it. Going around here, this is kind of an interesting thing that they did. This siding is actually weatherproofed by burning it. You notice, wherever there's like a knot or something, it kind of sticks up a little bit. You can't really see on the video, but you've got the texture of the wood. But they actually just blow torch this, and it sort of makes sort of a hard, preserved, weatherproof layer. And then they, of course, caulk the seams and everything, and creates kind of a cool effect. I really like it. Extra lights to make you street legal, because after all, it is a trailer. These things are actually registered as a recreational vehicle. So the cool thing about that is you don't have to pay property taxes on it. At least not in Texas. Like I said, it's 28 feet long, 8.5 feet wide. That's 238 square feet. You come here to the door, you've got a combination lock. So you don't have to have a key for it, which is nice. Sliding door. And you'll notice how quiet it is inside. Summertime in Texas, so we've got the cicadas making plenty of noise outside. But this thing is built really solid. I mean, it's built just like a home. You've got double pane on the sliding doors, double pane glass on the windows. You know, you got 3 windows that open, so you hear the cicadas, and then you don't, which is really nice. You know, nice 2x4 walls with spray foam insulation, so very good insulation properties, very good quality. Looked at the build pictures. They've actually got this thing on the bottom. It's bolted down to the frame, and then they use screws to put together all the studs and everything. It's kind of cool. So going down the road, this thing can fly apart on you. Go ahead and turn on some of the lights. These lights are on a remote, and I'll get to that here in just a second. So here's the living room. We've got some tape on the floor, kind of to show you where the big area here is where our couch is going to go. The small one right there is going to be a little ottoman that we can move around, use as a stool or whatever. And this is going to be a little digital piano. We'll have a little chair right here, kind of slide out over here. It's a little narrow to sit right there between the piano and the wall, but you move it over here and you have a nice little situation where you can get 3 people on the couch easily, and then a 4th person in the chair. So it's nice to have a couple over. 8-foot ceiling, and this is the sleeping loft. Now I'll show you a cool thing about this is it's actually on a motorized setup. So during the day, you can raise it up, get your 8-foot ceiling, and then at night, you put it down, boom. And then you got this little ladder that folds down. So this guy's kind of cool. See if I can do this with one hand, maybe not. Yeah, there we go. Whoops. There's this little pin that's supposed to go in here that doesn't quite go in all the way. I need to fix that. But one of the very, 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 very few little, quality bugaboos about this thing. So you just got a few steps to get up into your loft. And the cool thing about this is once you get up in here, I'm actually 6'2", and I can stand up. Give you a little shot of the rest of it. So you've got the kitchen, cabinets, got the indoor mini split, and then at the back you've got the second loft, which we're actually going to use for storage. But this is kind of cool because you got plenty of headroom and you're not sort of cramped up inside of a loft. But during the day you also get the advantage of having an 8-foot ceiling. So that's pretty neat. Definitely one of the features that sold us on this thing. See how quickly I can get this thing up. And then the way this works, it's actually an RV slide out mechanism that powers this thing. So up here you have a little motor, and there's a shaft that runs across, and there's a little spool or a little drum of cable over here, a little drum of cable over here. There's a cable that goes straight down on either side. And then on the back corner, there's a cable that goes down on either side as well. You've got a spring mechanism to sort of counterbalance the weight of it all, and then the electric motor. So when I press the button, it just goes right up. And that's it. Now we have our nice 8-foot ceiling down here. Taking you around towards the kitchen, we've got a little bit of shelving, a little bit of storage in here. And this is kind of cool. It's a little raised up, sort of like a bar area. What we're going to do is we're going to have a couple of stools right here, and this is going to be our dining area for my wife and I. During the daytime when we're working from home, we'll have our laptop set up here. I'll have kind of like a big monitor over there, and just use that for sort of a multi-purpose area. Going towards the back here, we have the sink. Got a nice faucet with a little retractable sprayer. We've also got a secondary faucet for drinking water with the filter set up down here. You can see the hot and cold piping. That's run actually just right under the cabinets, so it's well insulated on the bottom, so you don't actually have to worry about that freezing. Everything is run inside. Again, this being built up in Canada, they really thought about the cold weather. This is our tiny dishwasher. This thing is kind of cool. It's actually, the width is about 2/3 the size of a normal dishwasher, but the height is just about the same as a regular dishwasher. So you can still fit full-size plates and cups and things like that in there. It just has 2/3 the capacity. So that's pretty cool. Now, this is our tiny oven. It's a Dometic unit like you'd find in an RV, and it is actually quite small on the inside. I forget the exact dimensions, but you do have to get special pans for this thing. You can't fit full-size baking sheets in there. But it's got 3 burners on the top, which is about all you need. And a 1500 watt microwave. Plenty of cabinet space up top. And what we're gonna do up here on either side of this mini split on top of the cabinets is we're gonna add a little bit of storage. It's not gonna stick out flush with the cabinets, it's gonna be set back so you still get that clear view up to the nice wood ceiling, which makes it really feel kind of open in here. You know, if you look here, you get sort of this, you know, nice tall ceiling with a 13-foot height and everything. I don't want to spoil that. We're going to put another little cabinet situation up here, but that's going to be recessed back as well. Now to get up to this loft, we have a ladder on a rail. So this kind of comes out, and obviously a lot more steps, and then sort of a shorter, you know, breakover to navigate for tall people. So we're just going to use this one for storage. I'll take you up there and show you around. Over here, we've got the light. It's a nice 4 LED lights up top. Then you've got a outlet, so a 20 amp outlet with the USB charging ports as well. Kind of a nice little feature. The fixed window on the front and a sliding window on the side in case you want a little bit of ventilation up here. Of course, living in Houston, you're going to be running the AC constantly, so you know, barely ever going to use that because of humidity. But it's nice. We had a few days that were nice, and we could open that up and get some good airflow through here. Take you through the bathroom here. So this bathroom has a sliding door, so it doesn't really take up any space. And then you have this combo washer dryer and the sink and your lovely host. But nice faucet here. A little bit of storage behind the mirror as well. Now what I was talking about earlier with that 50 amp RV outlet being overkill is this thing being a combo washer dryer is kind of interesting. When it's on the wash cycle, it just uses a few amps at 110 volts, and then on the dry cycle, it recirculates the air inside of it and uses a dehumidifier to both warm the air and dry it out. It only uses 10 amps at 120 volts, which most dryers will use like 30, 40 amps at 220 volts. So they'll use like 8 times the electricity that this thing is using just to dry your clothes. So given that it uses a fraction of the electricity, it's barely going to impact your electric bill. So kind of cool there. We have a residential toilet, which if you know anything about RVs and toilets, you know that this thing uses quite a bit of water per flush. So this thing really isn't made to be off grid. It's made to be hooked up to the grid all the time. We have our shower over here as well. This is a full-size shower. So one of the interesting things they did here, this looks like tile, but it's actually kind of a plastic, like a thick sort of plastic. It's not flimsy at all. It's actually quite solid, but it eliminates the cracking that you might get, from towing something down the road. Like I said, this is on a heavy-duty frame, but it will still flex somewhat. So this eliminates the weight of the tile, but it gives it that nice look. Again, you've got a window that opens here, and another window that opens here, and your vent fan. And one of the things that I discovered with this is this vent fan is utterly useless unless you actually open up one of the windows to let some air in. And that's because this thing is so sealed up tight that it doesn't have any gaps around the windows. These are good quality residential windows. It's got a vapor barrier on it. Everything is sealed up really well. And so if you just turn the vent fan on, there's nowhere for air to get in unless you actually crack one of these windows open. Got our vacuuming supplies, some more shelf space in here. We're going to be adding here, this is kind of taped out where you'll have some storage area here, and this is going to be your closet area. So you'll have a rod that goes across here, you'll have some clothes hanging sort of to the side of the toilet, between the toilet and the door, and you'll have a few bins down here that pull out for things like socks and whatever kind of clothing you want to put in there. It's got a full-size residential fridge, so good freezer space, good fridge space. Here we're going to be adding a couple cabinets. So this one is going to have some drawers in it, some storage at the bottom, and it's going to have the same countertop, the same wood countertop as the rest of it. So we ordered it from the same supplier, so it'll all match. The fire extinguisher will go somewhere else since the cabinets go right to the edge. But one of the neat things our friend suggested is to drill a hole in the cabinet so that we can tuck the wires in, keep them kind of out of the way, and route them down to the plug down there. So that'll be nice. You can see the triple windows here. These are all stationary windows, but lets plenty of light in. You really in the daytime don't need to turn on any lights in here. It's got good LED lighting, but most of the time, like I say, you just don't need it. Little kind of cubby up here. You can put some storage and stuff up there. I'll show you the electrical system down here. So we've got our, this is our 50 amp power cord down here. Electrical panels, kind of like you'd find in a house, just a little bit smaller, a few less fuses, not too foreign. This is a power supply for your 12 volt. And what this does is, you can see down here, you have, and then you've got your 12 volt power supply. So these are the circuits for your lights and your battery charging. So just like you would have in an RV. Last thing is the water heater. It's actually here under the stove. And this little guy is a on-demand water heater. So what it does is it senses the water flow at anywhere from 1/2 gallon to 1 gallon per minute. It'll turn on and light the gas supply with a 12 volt connection, and it'll give you hot water literally within just a few seconds. So you turn on the faucet, let it run for just a few seconds, boom, you've got hot water. You turn it off, and while everything is dormant, you're not using any gas. So that's it. So Thanks for sticking with the tiny house tour. Hope you enjoyed it.